I don't usually speculate on stocks and occasionally play a few impromptu day trades, but I happen to be interested in the workings of the stock market and the methods and theories derived from it. It happens to be my friends. There are not pan-stock enthusiasts, and there are a few masters among them. And after a high-level talk, there are a few sighs. I write it out as an after-dinner joke, but just for reference, don't go crazy, haha. Friends who have been immersed in the stock market all year round often sigh. Even if I can predict the stock market in the first few minutes, I will be hundreds of millions. Haunted. Yes, the core problem of stock trading is how to predict future events. Predictions of events can be broadly divided into two scenarios. I divide these two cases into prediction in inertial systems and prediction in non-inertial systems. Let me start with predictions for simpler inertial systems. For example, you drive from San Francisco to Los Angeles and travel along I-5 South at 85 miles per hour. Then, in the premise that the car is not broken down, there are no car accidents on the road, traffic jams, etc., you will arrive in Los Angeles in about 5.5 hours. So, with the above premises, when can you drive from San Francisco to Los Angeles and get there? This one outcome of the event is predictable, because under the above prerequisites, this is a pre-decision on when you arrive in Los Angeles. The measurement becomes the prediction under the inertial system. Once your car is gone, your car will follow the inertia to Los Angeles, so we can predict. In the same way, in short-term weather forecasting, the weather forecaster looks at the current wind speed and pressure of a certain rain cloud. Conditions. It is possible to predict whether there will be rain in a certain area in the next few hours, depending on the direction in which the rain cloud is moving. Of course, the prerequisite is that the wind speed and pressure in that area remain the same for the time being in the inertial system. Don't underestimate this kind of inertial system prediction that elementary school students can understand. Because in the stock market, if you are lucky and you use it well, it can bring you billions of wealth. In fact, Warren Buffett used this inertial system prediction method when he started. He started by choosing several big stocks. The shares in the company are bought when the economy is at a low ebb, like the car we had ready when we went to Los Angeles. As long as it's in. In the economic inertia system, the development trend of the economy always moves from low tide to high tide, and then from high tide to low level. If the law of the tide does not change, then Warren Buffett can predict how much his stock will increase in value in a few years. Usually, stockholders do not regard the above methods as real stock speculation, but rather as long-term investment, instantaneous in the stock market. In the ever-changing short-term time period, as long as an unexpected event occurs, the inertia of the inertial system will be temporary, destroyed. For example, the financial collapse in the United States caused Warren Buffett's investments to suffer huge losses in the short term, but yes, statistically speaking, as long as you follow the rules of the inertial system, then your prediction most of the time, the accurate. If you're driving from San Francisco to Los Angeles, you're probably delayed by a traffic accident on the highway, but most of the time you'll be able to arrive on time. And friends who really trade in the stock market are running their money in a non-inertial system full of unexpected event system. In such a system, how we predict the future outcome of an event is the main point of this article. Why are we able to predict future events in an inertial system? In a non-inertial system, it is full of abruptness that generates events. It is difficult for us to predict future events. The reason is obvious. In an inertial system, we can make inferences based on the past and present patterns of events to know the future results. But we don't seem to be able to do in a non-inertial systems, because in the sudden events of non-inertial systems, there seems to be no necessary connection between the past and present forms of an event and the future form of the event in our human cognitive space. Please note that I have used two seams here because my assertion above is not true. Because the ancients have been able and successful in predicting the contingencies of non-inertial systems, and this is by no means a fantasy, it is proved by numerous historical sources. Although contemporary mathematical developments have been able to predict contingencies in non-inertial systems within certain ranges, for example, in In the field of weather forecasting, mathematical models are built using linear or nonlinear correlation analysis, plus giant squares under multiple regression array, using a supercomputer for rapid analysis. However, all these crystallizations of wisdom in the highly civilized modern human society seem to have been answered in a small book in ancient times of China, named Zhao Yi. Of course, everyone must ask, is it possible that in a modern society with such a high degree of scientific civilization, human wisdom is still not as good as ancient times? I don't have a clear answer to this question, but according to the judgment of some archaeological scientists, there seems to be a disconnect between the civilizations of the modern society and the civilizations of the ancient ages. For example, since the explorer Stevenson, after the discovery of the Mayan civilization in the 19th century, humans have not been able to explain the splendor found deep in the forests and under the seabed of the Mayan civilization. With the hundreds of exquisite complexes, no matter how we imagine it, we cannot conclude that humans in ancient times without advanced scientific civilization could have built such buildings. Think again of the pathology Yellow Emperor's Neijings left over from our ancient China, prediction which will be discussed below, philology, and so on. Basically, a large image can be formed in our minds. Billions of years in the universe reincarnation. There may have been a highly civilized society in human history, but in the long-term changes of the universe, that existed. Society has long been destroyed, but the highly scientific civilization of that time passed through unimaginable channels, for example tombs, stone carvings, unearthed antiquities, etc., left a piece of words to future generations. As early as the Spring and Autumn period and the Warring States period, prediction science was already popular, and the famous ones were Guiguzi and several of his students. But Guiguzi and his writings, and his students such as Sun Bin's writings, have not been handed down. Sun Tzu's Art of War is only said, but not confirmed. The main reason is Qin Shi Huang's book, Burning and Burying of Scholars.
Dear friends, this episode of the video has ended. The next episode will be played in a few days. Don't forget to like and subscribe before leaving.